Looking back now, 11 and a half months later, how is life for you different today than it was before the storm came along?
Well, if you had interviewed me yesterday, I would have had a completely different story than I have today. Because I finally found out that a problem I've been having with my shoulder ever since the storm or shortly thereafter is not a serious problem. And I feel like I've got a new lease on life because I've been running around with a frozen shoulder, sometimes better, sometimes worse, since the storm. And I was just down generally because I didn't know if I were going to have surgery or any of that. But also, in the storm, I had an event that happened about a month after where my inner ear went crazy, where I had impairment of balance. And that's all cleared up now through a good doctor that's helped me with that. And so I've been through a lot of health difficulties, but right now I feel like everything's normal. So,
Good.
but I couldn't have said that even yesterday.
Did it hit?
Well, my most vivid memory was the day I got back to my house and I was worried about my belongings, and I had asked a friend of mine to go in and get my cameras from downstairs because we had to evacuate early because we had some family issues. We had to go to North Carolina. So she had gotten things like my cameras, my photographic equipment in addition to my cameras and things like that, but I'd forgot to get the computer, and it was sitting on the desk in my office downstairs. And I had been able to get one phone call through at that point to our neighbor, and he said it looks like we had about 11 feet of water. So I knew, and the front door was blown open. So I wasn't sure what the situation was going to be, but I have this table that my graduate student helped me get from Columbia that's about 8 feet long. It's made of wood, and that table had floated up in the storm. I had 7.5 feet of water in my office. And when it settled back down, the computer was still on the table. When I walked in, the computer was on. And so that's my most vivid memory.
What was the condition of the rest of the house? I mean, I know it's full of water, so it's not good, but
All the contents downstairs were all jumbled. But I had other important things in my workshop, which was in the room behind, which had 6.5 feet of water. And I had a wooden table in that room too, and I had some delicate objects on that table, and that table floated as well, and it settled back down in the water, and all of the objects were still on the table. And I went through a lot of worry because after I called my friend who was my neighbor to go and get my cameras and make sure all the doors were dead bolted, we had managed to get to South Carolina that day, and then I knew it was going to be really bad, and I asked her to do that. And then I realized 10 minutes later, after getting off the phone, I forgot to ask her to get my computer. But then I realized if I called her back and delayed her in her departure, like her life was more important to me than my computer. So I wasn't going to call back and ask her to do more. And I worried about it the whole time I was away, and there it was. It was fine when I got home.